Today on Dodson's Corner, we're going to be figuring out the definitive list of every single pay-per-view in 2024, ranked from goated all the way down to trash.
UFC 310 wrapped up last week. So let's decide what's goated, what's trash. We have our fighters up on a different screen so we can see every single fight on the card. And we're going to be trying to actually remember all the fights, not just the main card, but we're going to try and remember 297 prelims, which it's going to be tough, but don't roast us in the comments.
We'll do a better job next year. 2025, it's our year.
It's our year. We're going to be locked in from the start. But starting off the year, we had kind of a stinky card. We had Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis for the middleweight title in Toronto. Shout out Canada. Woo. Toronto is my city. And then as the co-main, we had Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva. Yeah, that should give you enough information to know that this card was not the best. And then the rest of the main card, we had Magny versus Malott, which was a brutal to watch for Canadians.
Yeah, that's the issue, is you have a card in Canada and then the Canadian fighters go 2-7.
Yikes. And then you have Chris Curtis versus Marc-Andre Barriault, Arnold Allen versus Evloev, which was probably the best fight on this card.
Probably. It was kind of a banger.
Evloev being in an exciting fight. Kind of surprising.
Never heard of it. I don't know. I think with this card too, you also think about like the controversy with the decision in the main event. You had that split decision that could have realistically gone either way. But you look at this card and it's like, outside of like maybe the main event, like these are just like all the same fighters that were just on the Edmonton Fight Night. It's like the same 10 Canadian fighters recycled for every Canadian card.
Very true. And then the star power of du Plessis wasn't huge at this point.
Yeah.
And even Sean Strickland, like he was kind of popular in the US specifically, but I don't think he has that many fans worldwide.
Yeah, he doesn't have the pull in Canada.
Exactly. He's very patriotic. And then Magny on a featured fight in 2024, like he's on fight nights right now. Right. So the troll wasn't doing it for me, but
I think in terms like a pay-per-view, I think it might be bad.
I think you mimight be right.
Like we're looking at it as a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You have to spend a whole $90 on this.
True. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, we can't believe we would ever spend that much money on a pay-per-view.
Can't justify the value. And then also I want to highlight at the end, we're going to rank 4 of the best fight nights. We have Alaskarov versus Whitaker. We have Sandhagen Nurmagomedov, Moicano versus Saint Denis, and the Macau card. All right, moving on to our next pay-per-view. We have Volkanovski versus Top Churro, mate. What are we thinking?
Ooh, already better. Instantly already better. We have that co-main. Whitaker looked really good against Costa.
Yeah.
You have Neal versus Ian Gary, Dvalishvili versus Cejudo, which was very high-class wrestling.
Yeah.
Fluffy Hernandez versus Kopylov.
That was a good fight.
And then even looking at like the lower down cards, you have like a Tafa versus RDL. It's a pretty consistent card. Like I wouldn't say that it was like a banger, but it was a solid pay-per-view.
Yeah, and then you even have Zhang, light heavyweight. Dude is always exciting. Like, he puts out highlight KOs pretty much every fight. Whitaker versus Costa was a great 3-rounder. And then Volkanovski versus Topuria. I think at the time, it put a very sour taste in our mouth because we didn't want to see it. Neal versus Ian Gary. It was fine.
It was a decision.
Yeah, split decision win. I think it was a little bit controversial at the time. But the fact that you even have like star power like Dvalishvili and Cejudo 4th on the card, I think that shows it's a solid card. I'd put it at solid.
I couldn't put it anywhere higher, but I don't think it deserves to be lower than that. It was just a solid pay-per-view.
Yeah, and in terms of moments, it only really had that highlight moment for Topuria. All right, let's move on to UFC 299, O'Malley versus Vera 2.
Definitely one of the most stacked main cards of the year.
Yeah.
Like, the main card was stacked.
It was.
At the top, Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera, and then even the co-main, Poirier versus Saint Denis. He had that beautiful knockout by Poirier, and then you had the debut of MVP versus Kevin Holland, where MVP got that dub there, and then another banger, Burns versus JDM.
Like one of the best comebacks of the year.
Oh, like no way JDM came back and then had that beautiful KO, and then just some elite boxing with Peter Yan versus Song Yadong. Like,
he's back. This was when Yan was back, and we were all hyped. Yeah, this main card might be one of the best main cards, like top 3 of the year. And then if you go further down the card, you have Blades versus Almeida, which was absolutely amazing to see Almeida get, not fraud check because I don't think he's a fraud, but got KO'd. Then you have Macy Barber. It wasn't the best. Gamrot versus Dos Anjos.
Mateusz Gamrot.
Mateusz. Yeah, the fact that you have that on the prelims,
Yeah.
that's not bad.
Even like Kyler Phillips on the prelims. That dude just this co-main evented a fight night.
Average Kyler Phillips
And
performance.
then even early prelims, we see like a guy like Pereira versus Olashechuk.
Yeah, true.
And even the former heavyweight, the future of heavyweight at the time, Robella de Spain.
Yeah. This is a great card. I'm going to put it great.
Yeah, I think that it was a top 4, maybe even top 3 pay-per-view of the year. I just don't think it was on the level of GOATed.
No. And I think it's probably going to stay at the top of great.
Yeah, and I think if it had a better main event, like if you had like O'Malley versus someone that would have been competitive, like
Right.
Imagine you just had like O'Malley versus Peter Yan 5 round for the belt.
Or Nurmagomedov, if at the time
Oh.
he was ready, that would have been a banger. Okay, let's move on to arguably the most iconic pay-per-view this year and maybe of all time. We have UFC 300, headlined by Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill, co-main Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. We've talked about that fight enough during this Dodson's Corner week.
Like, I don't know how much we need to talk about UFC 300. It was just that good.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it.
All right. So, obviously, iconic moments on the main card. You have the Pereira knockout of Jamal Hill in the first round with the iconic Herb Dean push-off.
Wait.
They don't love me like I do. Wait. And then you have Zhang Weili versus Yang Jianan, where Zhang Weili literally beat Yan Jianan like 4 times, but then like Yan Jianan had like that comeback a little bit, and then you're what is going on? Like, probably the best women's fight I've ever witnessed live.
Yeah,
like I don't know a better women's fight. I'm usually sleeping though, so
yeah, he doesn't actually watch them. Let's be real.
I'm just passed out. That's my nap break. And then maybe potentially the best moment of all time, that Holloway knockout over Justin Gaethje, like. Just a great fight there. Oliveira versus Sarukian, like such a close fight. Like
Oliveira being 4th on the main card, crazy. Bro.
Like just such a close fight.
Yeah,
could have gone either way. And then overrated Mo Nickel versus
Cody Brundage on the main card, crazy. That was the only letdown.
Yeah, and then even let's go to the prelims. So good. Yuri Prohaska got that great KO over Rakic after losing in that first round, but then Rakic sold and Yuri capitalized.
Yuri locked in.
Calvin Kattar versus former champion Aljamain Sterling. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Was that Kayla Harrison's UFC debut?
Yeah.
It was.
Wondering if she would ever make weight.
Yeah. And then we have like Diego Lopez versus Yusuf. Diego Lopez,
Banger.
this was where it like started. You know, like this was like, okay. Early prelims. Moicano versus Turner.
This was probably the best comeback of the year.
This was crazy. The way that Turner sold that fight.
He
just walked away. Just walked away.
Moicano's life would have been so different if he lost that fight.
And then we got Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Bobby Green literally mauled Jim Miller. Yeah. Jim Miller looked bad.
Honestly, I want to see him run it back though.
I would honestly want to see that.
Yeah.
Give Jim Miller a rematch. And then the opening fight, Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt, 2 former champions.
It's goated. It's literally goated. This is one of the best cards they've ever put together. Unfortunately, wait, did you not talk about Andrade versus Rodriguez? Did you just skip that one? That's valid, honestly. That's very valid.
Don't you think I remember that?
No.
This was 10 months ago. Like,
I don't
remember women's early prelims from 10 months ago. Sorry, guys.
Calling me a casual. But yeah, no, it's goated. All right, let's move on to UFC 301. Looking back at this card, it wasn't as bad as I remembered.
I think we may be a little bit tough on this card. Mm-hmm. But like still, like I think also it depends on like what point, you know, like we weren't doing full deep dives of every single card, you know, we weren't looking at who these people were the same way that we are now.
Yeah. But if you look at the prelims, the prelims had like bangers.
Yeah.
So let's go through this card. We have Pantoja versus Urseg. I would say that's one of the better main events this year.
100%.
Because it was so competitive and high level. Martinez versus Aldo. It was kind of bad.
Yeah, Aldo just looked way better than Martinez.
For a co-main event, it was bad. Smith versus Petrino. Smith locked in that first round Gilly. That was pretty hype. Smith is back. No, he's not. And then we have Pereira versus Poitiera. That was another banger.
Dude, Pereira was just like clipping on him. just tossing out his whole bag. Backflip knees and stuff.
It was great. I love that. And then you have Craig versus Barallo. This kind of started Barallo's charge into the title picture. And he got the second round KO. And then you have Jack Shore versus Joe Anderson Brito. Banger. Joe Anderson Brito's hype, and so is Jack Shore. He has a great record. He actually just retired, so shout out Jack Shore. Let's skip the women's fight, and then we have Oral By.
Oral By versus Elvis Brenner. Elvis Brenner. Like, how are you not gassed out from doing this the whole fight? Like, I'm already tired after this. He does it every fight.
Oh, really?
He just his own hands are moving.
Oh man, yeah, Oral By hype. And then you were supposed to have John Silva on this card, Gene Silva, Pant Silver, which would have been hype. You had Rufy on this card. You had the whole Fighting Nerds.
Except
Protes.
Yeah.
So
is Lucindo, is that the female fighting nerd?
Maybe.
I don't remember who it is.
Yeah, you might be right.
I know that she fought recently.
Yeah, let us know if Lucindo is the
not like we care.
The last Power
Save
Ranger.
yourself the effort. You don't need to go and comment. We don't care.
I think that was mainly the good fights on that card. Yeah. So it wasn't that bad. I would say
mid.
Yeah. The prelims were good. Mm-hmm. And even the first two fights on the pay-per-view were good, or the main card, but then the co-main was just so bad.
Yeah. This was a great fight night.
Yeah.
Not a great fight night. Just not a pay-per-view.
Valid. Yeah, this was like Macau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great quality of fight, just with the lack of name value.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Makhachev versus Poirier. Ooh. Now, I remember this fight card being carried by the main event, but let's go through it.
It was a stinker.
So we have Makhachev versus Poirier, arguably the highest level main card fight that we've seen this year. And then you have stinker Strickland versus Costa. That was so bad. Someone gave it 49-46 Costa.
It was terrible.
Yikes.
And then, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the MVP versus Ian Gary fight was on 302, not 303.
302? Why would it be on 302?
I don't remember this fight being on 303.
No, it was on 303.
Are we sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I swear it was in a parlay of mine.
No.
On 302.
No, it was 303.
Maybe I'm getting MVP and Kevin Holland mixed up.
No, because Ian Gary wanted to fight on the same card as McGregor.
Oh,
and that's 303.
All right.
Stop acting like
I just
casual.
I just thought that fight was too good to be on. I'm pretty sure.
It's not. It's not. Why are you even checking this? You're pissing me off.
Because that fight was not on 303,
Yes, it was. Let's see.
It was.
Oh, my goodness. What a surprise.
Retard alert.
Okay. Do I have to cut that out now?
Probably not. I'm allowed to say that word.
Holland versus Olajaychuk. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Armbar. Actually, that was actually an exciting fight. Price versus Morono. Holy. Yeah. No.
That's on the main card of a pay-per-view.
Yeah. And then you have Randy Brown versus Dos Santos. Yeah. I like watching Randy Brown fight. It's always exciting. Almeida versus Kopylov. No.
Almeida versus Romanov.
What the heck? Yeah. Just looking at this, I mean, you had Grant Dawson, which was decent.
Yeah.
Basil Hafaz versus Mickey Gall, decent. Other than that, not a great card. I think this is bad.
Yeah, it's strictly just the main event. What do we have ahead of it?
Strickland versus Duplessis.
Was it better?
I think the main card carried, actually.
But like these fights were bad. Strickland was bad.
But Holland versus Olajaychuk was good.
I don't know if it was good. It was okay.
I think it was good. He almost broke his arm.
That is true.
It was hype. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think they're interchangeable, honestly.
Yeah.
Let's move on to UFC 303. One of the most cursed cards this year. Yeah. We had a whole trip plan. We were going somewhere for this McGregor card.
And then it fell through.
All right. Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira. This was a banger. Mm-hmm. It was one of Pereira's best fights this year. Diego Lopez versus Dan Ige.
It was okay just because it was just had weird circumstances. Ige coming in on super short notice, you know.
And then Lopez having to make weight 3 times.
Yeah, and then like they just weren't ready to fight each other. So it was like they had to learn what to do mid-fight. So it was just weird. And then people were dogging on Lopez for losing that 3rd round. But he had already won the first 2. He didn't need to go out and get the finish of Dan Ige.
And Dan Ige is notoriously hard to finish.
Yeah, so why would he put himself in a vulnerable position?
Smith versus Delitse, one of the worst fights I've ever watched. Bueno Silva versus Chasson, nope. Machado Gary versus Venom Page,
was
nope.
Terrible.
This is a
Joe Piper versus Pereira.
That was a banger.
That was a good fight.
That was a banger.
Oh, Cub Swanson versus Andre Philly was a good fight. Jourdain versus Silva,
also a good fight.
Yeah, Silva dogged on him. Talbot got that.
Dude,
crazy
the prelims
knockout.
are carrying.
And then women's we don't care about.
Yeah.
Why is there so many Canadians on this card?
Well, that Canadian fight's on every card.
Well, then we got Oliveira is on here.
Oliveira. Yeah, I think the prelims were great on this card. I honestly
Main
think
event was pretty. Yeah, it can go in. Yeah, it has a few better fights.
the prelims are unreal on this card.
Yeah.
Talbot highlight, Silva highlight, Swanson versus Philly good fight, Pfeiffer highlight.
Yeah, and you got to know that you got to have good prelims for a fight that's going to McGregor. You want your guys that
True.
that are going to stand out. That's the reason you have Peyton Talbot on this card.
True. Yeah.
So I respect that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. UFC 304, headlined by Edwards versus Muhammad 2, and then co-main of Aspinall versus Blades 2. Yeah, this one, when it got announced, we were thinking, oh, this is a straight banger. And the main card was very good.
Yeah, outside of the main event.
Outside the main event.
Main event was tainted, but like Allen versus Chikadze was banger. Like they just were amazing boxing in that fight. Duncan versus Rodriguez was fine.
Yeah, it was good.
We got that Paddy Pimblett highlight armbar on Bobby Green.
Might have been the best fight on the main card.
Might have been. And then Aspinall with that 1 minute KO.
Yeah.
Moving down into the prelims. This is where it kind of falls off a little bit just because it was kind of, you're trying to get as many UK guys on there, so you're not going to go for the same star power, and they don't have as deep of a roster. Yeah. But you got guys like Mick Parkin on there.
Yeah.
He did get the win in that fight.
Yeah, he had a good
and
performance.
This one.
Mokaya versus Cap.
Soured it. Oh.
You had Oben Elliott on there?
Yeah. Like,
decent.
It's not bad.
McCann lost, though. Molly McCann. That was a sad day for Paddy Pimblett. He ain't got a hit that night. Yeah, the prelims were kind of not the best on this card, but the main card was decent. I think it's probably mid again.
Yeah, but I think it...
Well, is it solid, though? The star power on it was decent.
I just remember being like, that was okay. It was okay.
Is it above Pereira versus Prohaska?
Probably that. It's probably at the top of mid.
Barely.
Just because I was... Yeah.
I think, honestly, all these are even.
Yeah, they're like interchangeable. All right, moving on. Next card, UFC 305.
This was a good card from what I remember, but let's go through it. We have headlined by Duplessis versus Adesanya. A great main event.
Yeah, very entertaining until Adesanya got submitted.
Well, it's still entertaining. What do you mean? I like that.
I did.
And then you have Kai Kara-France versus Ursag, a highlight round 1 KO. It's exciting as much as I don't like it. Gamrot versus Hooker.
Banger.
Upset of the year.
Banger.
Top 10 fight of the year as well, probably.
Oh, probably.
And then you have Tuivasa versus Rosenstrike. Not the best.
Tarnished by the judging and the weird stuff that happened in that fight.
Yeah, not the best. And then Li Jiang versus Carlos Prates. Bro
Banger.
cooked.
Like... The way that you put that on the main card when neither guy are from the Oceanic region, ballsy, but it worked out.
Yeah. And then you have Junior Taffa versus Walter Walker.
Weird.
That weird round 1 submission at the end. Yeah. Ramos, I don't remember that fight very much. Jack Jenkins, that was a good fight. Oh, yeah, and you had Nolan on this. Yeah, this was a good card.
Yeah, there was like the prelims were like solid. Like this is what you expect for a pay-per-view prelims. You're not expecting bangers every time.
Yeah, because I remember both of the Aussie guys, Jack Jenkins and Tom Nolan, got good highlight. I don't know if they were highlight, but they got good wins. I'd say this is very solid. I'd say top of solid, right?
Honestly, probably.
Volkanovski, yeah. I think this was
better, more consistent.
Yeah.
Infamous UFC 306 Rita Season Noche UFC.
Put some respect on the name, brother. Yeah, let's move through the card. We had a headline by, of course, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. What?
Just kissed your back.
Ew, no, don't do that. I'm censoring that. And then we have Grasso versus Shevchenko.
Oh.
Co-main, awful. Ortega versus Lopez. Great
Banger.
fight. Absolutely amazing fight. Zellhuber versus Rubovic.
Banger. Might even be fight of the year.
Fight of the year, probably. Rodriguez versus Osborne. Great comeback. Banger.
Banger.
Aldana versus Dumont. The massive cut. Doctor stoppage. Banger. Torres versus Bahamondes. Bahamondes getting a highlight KO. Banger. Don't remember this women's fight. And then you have Edgar Shires versus Joshua Van. Banger.
And then Chiwiwi.
Sold on the early. Dude had one job on the early prelims and he freaking sold.
This one is just so tough because if we just get rid of the main and co-main events, like if we just had this, I'm just cropping out the main and co-main events. Banger fight night. You know,
Yeah.
like this would be the legendary fight night.
Yeah,
But
100%.
then,
I think it goes solid.
bottom of solid, just because a pay-per-view is truly for the main event.
Yeah.
You know, that is why you're watching the pay-per-view.
Yeah. Honestly, I think people would put it lower than this because all they remember is the top 2 fights.
But like the bottom fights, like you've probably had maybe 3 top 10 fights of the year.
Honestly,
Like they were that good.
they were. Yeah. All right, let's move on to UFC 307. We have headlined by Alex Pereira versus Cleo Roundtree, co-main Pennington versus Pena.
The main event,
Yeah. Unreal main event.
Pereira's best fight of the year.
Yeah. Well, it was his worst fight. But
Yeah. Most entertaining fight.
exactly.
I think that it might be my favorite fight of the year.
Fair.
I think that like I've never felt so much like mood swings during a fight.
That's valid.
Pennington versus Pena, trash, terrible.
And also just bad judging as well.
Yeah, tarnished by the judging. Aldo versus Batista, terrible.
Bro, I just had Viet flashbacks right there.
Delete versus Holland sucked because of that weird injury to Kevin Holland, like where he broke the rib, so never really got to get going. And then Vieira versus Harrison, everyone's expecting like Harrison as this mega favorite to go out here and get some crazy head kick KO.
You say mega?
I did say mega. And it sounded very much MAGA mega, not mega. But yeah, Vieira versus Harrison. That fight was junk too. So like a main card that was trash outside of the main event.
I think performance of the night fight of the night was Thompson versus Buckley. That was a good fight.
Yeah, and then Buckley had that fluky KO. It's fluke. We'll see him get fraud checked by my boy Colby.
And then you have Lucindo. Am I wrong in saying that this was actually a good fight? Was Lucindo a good fight? It might have been.
It feels like she was actually maybe good.
Okay, yeah, don't grill us in the comments. I completely forget. You had Cesar Almeida versus Ihor Pretoria. Do you remember this fight? The eye pokes.
Oh,
The brand new ref in this fight had no idea what to do.
that was this fight.
Yeah, no, it was Almeida versus Poitiera.
Oh, that was a disaster.
Literally disaster.
Just like didn't do anything about the iPhones.
4 eye pokes, and he was like, "Just take your time, brother. I'm not taking a point away." And then you had Ryan Spann versus Owen St. Preux. Really good fight. That was St. Prue's. He got kicked off the roster after that. Carla Esparza retirement fund. So bad. And then you had McGee versus Means. This was a trash card.
This was trash.
Yeah. We found our first trash card, ladies and gentlemen.
Like I didn't remember how bad this card was kind of going through it, but then like
nothing exciting happened.
nothing happened
Yeah.
outside of the main event.
Yeah.
It was literally 2 fights. We'll put Thompson and Buckley in there. It was 2 fights.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was either terrible or just like tarnished with bad judging or bad reffing.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Now we have my favorite fight card of the year. It's UFC 308, headlined by Topuria versus Holloway and co-main by Whitaker versus Shemaev. 2 of the best fights you could put on this year, and they actually made it happen. And then further down the card, you had Ankalaev Rakic.
It was okay.
It was okay.
It was just a pretty standard, like you'd expect it. This is what like a standard fight is, you know?
Exactly. But let's talk about the main event, because you had Max Holloway being KO'd for the first time, Topuria really cementing himself as the guy to beat in featherweight. One of my favorite fights of the year, one of the best KOs in my opinion of the year. Go watch that video, yesterday's video, if you haven't already.
Because today is day 3 of Dodson's Quarter Christmas. We missed that at the beginning. For the loyal ones still here, day 3 of Dodson's Quarter Christmas.
Facts. 12 days of Christmas.
Bangers for 12 days straight, but you guys already know because we put out bangers every single day.
And then Whitaker versus Shemaev, you had Shemaev really coming back and proving why he's going to be the next title contender. As much as I cried after Whitaker lost.
It was the most violent finish of the year, potentially.
Yeah, at least violent submission. And then Murphy versus Ige, good fight.
Good fight. I mean, you put 2 entertaining guys. It wasn't you could have expected more from that fight.
Yeah.
I think we both kind of came in saying that had potential to be like fight of the night, but it was good. It was a good fight. And then Shara Bullet versus Armin Petrosian. You had that double bullet. That's all you can really remember from that fight, to be honest.
Top 5 KO of the year.
Yeah, you got some cage grabbing, obviously, but
and then you had Ibo Aslan versus Cerquera. How do you pronounce it? Oh, that was a good fight.
yeah, I think Aslan got that
Yeah.
the KO
Yeah.
in like a minute or something. I think it was a quick KO.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Ibo Aslan cooked him. I remember that now.
And then Jeff Neal versus RDA. RDA got hurt.
Yeah.
Never really got started. But then Rebecca versus Oral Vi.
Goated.
Banger.
Absolutely goated for war. It was a war.
Yeah.
Magomedov versus Ferreira. I wanted Ferreira to win that so bad. Magomedov, somehow he came back and he actually finished him with a submission. It was a good fight. Like, for what it was a good fight, but just not the person who I wanted to win. And then you have Zachukwu versus Chris Barnett. Fight of the night, obviously.
Oh, Chris Barnett.
Rip.
Fatso, man.
And then you had Basharat versus Hugo. Farid Basharat, probably one of the best prospects in that bantamweight division.
Yeah, he's the Afghani guy, right? Yeah.
Banger. And then you have Nordiev versus Silva. Ismail Nordiev looked unreal in that fight.
Wasn't he overweight, though?
No, that was Victor Hugo.
Oh, yeah.
Who was like 10 pounds or something overweight.
Something stupid overweight.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the opening fight, Renat Fakhardinov versus Carlos Leal.
Biggest robbery of our day.
Of the year. That was terrible.
Yeah. Oh, man. Fakhardinov face looks like Voldemort.
But this day was just awesome.
Yeah.
You know, starting at 7 a.m. with,
eggs and bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's goated. Behind UFC 300, but definitely goated.
Yeah. Next fight card up, UFC 309. Obviously headlined by Jones versus Stipe and co-main evented by Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler.
What do you think about this card, Dylan?
I think that main event sucked. I think that
it wasn't awful.
It wasn't awful. I think it's overhyped because it was the day after Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, so everyone had terrible expectations from that, soured, and they're like, oh, this wasn't that bad. I think Miocic looked so slow. I don't think that Jones actually was that good. I think people were overrating Jones after that fight. But it was a spectacle main event. It was John Jones versus Stipe. You know, you weren't paying for the fight quality. You were paying for John Jones versus Stipe.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then we have the co-main event, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. One of my favorite fights of the year. Like, it wasn't technically the best fight of the year, but it was just so much fun getting to watch Charles just destroy Michael Chandler. And then Michael Chandler's, like, end of the 4th round, 5th round potential comeback scared me so bad, but then Charles pulled away. It was just such a fun fight. And then, like, the backdrops at the end of the fight. Like, it was just fun, man. It was a good time. Bo Bickel versus Paul Craig, junk. Araujo versus Silva, junk. Rufy versus Lontop was honestly kind of crappy just because Lontop was so overweight. We didn't really get to see Rufy do his thing, you know?
Well, he did. He did get a couple knockdowns.
Yeah, he pieced him up.
Yeah.
But he couldn't get that finish.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault when Lontop was so overweight.
Yeah, I think, was he 18 pounds overweight? 17 pounds?
Something stupid.
It was insane, yeah. I like that fight personally. Martinez versus McGee, kind of a weird fight because Martinez was so gun shy and McGee got his legs almost chopped up, like almost got leg kick TKO'd, which Martinez has done multiple times before. Weidman versus Anders, that one
Anders got the quick
canceled. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it got put on 310.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one.
Jim Miller, he's back, baby. Versus Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson retiring. This was one of my favorite fights on the card.
It was so good.
Yeah, and then you have Onama getting that win. Looked good. Tibera versus Denise. Tibera obviously fraud checking Jonata Denise.
But it wasn't that great of a fight. It was pretty...
Well, no, remember the elbows?
At the end, like the finish was good, but up until there it was pretty...
Yeah, it was pretty mid.
Mickey Gall looked like trash.
Yeah, Brahimaj got that easy win. Hafez versus Elliott, one of the better fights I've seen this year.
Yeah, it was good.
Oban Elliott really showed out. I'm really high on him now.
And then a woman's fight at the beginning.
Veronica Hardy, baddie. That's all I'm going to say.
So it was a very high and low card. Like there were some highs and then there were some lows. I think it was solid.
I would put it bottom of solid. Because if you think about all the highlights and the fight of the years that Nache had on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the last pay-per-view of the year before we get into the top 4 fight nights. UFC 310, obviously headlined by Pantoja versus Asakura and co-main evented by Rachmanov versus Ian Gary. Pantoja got that second round sub over Asakura. You know, Asakura had that one big knee and like a couple strikes, but it was realistically mostly Pantoja that whole fight up until the finish.
Yeah, it was good for Pantoja. He looked really sharp, but in terms of like, I just didn't care about it that much, you know? I knew Pantoja was going to win.
Fair enough.
You know?
Yeah. Moving on, Shavkat versus Ian Gary. I think it was disappointing for the expectations. I think as fans, I know me personally, we overhyped this fight a little bit. And then you hear about Shavkat having that torn MCL after the fight, and you're like, makes sense because he wasn't active with the kicks. He wasn't blitzing the way he had in the past. And like he just realistically couldn't take Ian Gary down. He wasn't going for any single or double leg takedowns. He was really just trying to like power him down more so than lifting him up, which probably is from the knee injury, I would assume, is why he couldn't do that stuff. But it wasn't a bad fight. It was an okay fight with expectations of being a great or amazing fight, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite fight, to say the least.
Gon versus Volkov was an okay fight and then just got absolutely just destroyed by the judging.
Yeah, I was surprised how much grappling Gon tried to do, but I think this is about what I expected from this fight. And then, Volkov got screwed over.
Bryce Mitchell versus Chrome Gracie. Farm Jitsu versus Jiu-Jitsu.
Not my favorite fight, but I am happy that Bryce Mitchell KO'd Cron Gracie.
And then the first fight was actually kind of a banger.
It was.
Nate Landwehr versus Doohoo Choi.
Bro, cooked.
Choi just...
He's the new Korean Zombie.
Honestly, yeah, like came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And just kind of cooked. All right, moving on to prelims. Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Fight just makes me uncomfortable knowing what happened.
Yeah.
Like the whole circumstance around it. It's just like, let's just forget that fight ever happened.
Yeah.
Luque just fraud checked. I don't know if it's a fraud check.
Yeah, it kind of was.
It kind of was a fraud check over Garimbo. Just like less than a minute in, knocked him out.
I forget if it was a anaconda or a Darce choke, but
it was a submission. I don't know why I said it was a knockout. Yeah, but he got him in like a minute.
Yeah, well, he wobbled him,
and then he just finished him on the ground.
Vintage Vicente Luque. It was great. And then you have one of the most high level fights in terms of wrestling this year, Evloev versus Sterling. Again, it was like what you expected from this fight. Super high level. Both guys look good.
Mm-hmm. I think that anyone who enjoys MMA on a more than a casual level respected that fight. It was what we were expecting, and it's what you're going to get when you have two grapplers getting each other, and they were bound to have to fight each other eventually, so that's how it goes.
It was good. Brown versus Battle. This was a bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
A lot of clinching. Ryan Battle did not look good. He came in overweight. The weight cut looked bad for him, and split decision. So it's valid split decision, and I think it went the right way. Weidman versus Anders. This was a good fight.
This fight actually happened.
Back and forth a lot, and Anders got the
dub, and I think Weidman is probably going to retire.
Maybe.
Dana came out in the presser and was like, I want all these guys to retire.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then you have Durden versus Van.
Banger.
Second most significant strikes in a flyweight bout.
I mean, it was a one-sided banger. It was Joshua Van. I mean, the first round was competitive, but then Van just entered. It was just all him after that.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what he does in the future.
Because now he's ranked, so...
Yep. And then you have Chiesa versus Griffin. This was a weird one. Chiesa got that third round submission, and it's about what you expect from a Chiesa fight. Tries to get to the ground. And then you have Chase Hooper, probably the best performance of the night on Clay Guida.
Looking like a prime dude Bronx in there.
Armbar.
That jiu-jitsu was crazy.
So clean.
And then finally, Kennedy and Chukwuku versus Brzezinski got that first round knockout.
Yeah, it was good.
I don't know. It was just, I don't know if it's trash.
It's not trash.
It's not bad.
I was thinking bottom of mid.
Yeah.
Because I'm just looking, like, the prelims are nothing special. Like, there was no like standout.
Yeah.
There, like, Vicente Luque was a standout, but it doesn't have implications for the future.
Exactly.
You know?
All right, moving on to these last couple of fight nights.
Let's start it off with Whitaker versus Aliskerov was this in Saudi?
This was in either Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia. I think that this was the Saudi card.
Yeah. Well, let's just say they're the same place.
Yeah. So we got Whitaker versus Aliskerov was the main event. Co-main event was Pavlovich Volkov. Starting off with that main event, Whitaker beat Aliskerov in the first round. It was
Banger.
It was a good KO.
Banger.
I think everyone knew that Ikram was in over his head after that fight.
Yeah, but you didn't expect Whitaker to get a first round.
Yeah, that especially with the way that Whitaker had been looking, coming off that loss to Dricus. But got it done. Co-main event, Pavlovich versus Volkov, one of the worst fights of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I actually read something yesterday that they didn't accept the fight. Like, they weren't offered it against each other. They were just kind of both put into the fight. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, former training partners, they look like twins. Like, you would think that they're brothers. It was just a weird fight. Everything that happened was just so weird around it.
Yeah, Gaslam versus Rodriguez. That was a really good fight. Gaslam getting that win there. And then you have, of course, spawning on every Saudi card is Shara Magomedov. And this time he fought Anthony Tricoli, which is Mackenzie Dern's former boyfriend. Ooh. Hit me up if you're interested, Mackenzie. And then you have
Johnny
a banger
Walker versus Oezdemir.
Highlight KO for Oezdemir, first round. And then later down the card in the prelims, you have Hakpasarat. I can never pronounce his name. Versus Gordon. And that was another good fight. Hakpasarat looks really good. Was there anything else? You had Fakhretdinov again getting a win. Nothing crazy there. The prelims weren't anything special.
Yeah, it was a good fight night, but when we're putting it up against stuff like this,
it's probably bad.
Yeah.
But are we judging fight night? Or?
No, we're putting it on cards of the year. I think it probably goes in bad, but just it's a fight night, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not like these fights performed like they could have been the best.
And it low-key fell apart.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of pullouts.
Yeah, that tends to happen with these Saudi cards.
All right, let's move on to Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov. This was a great high-level main event. Mm-hmm. I believe 49-46 for Umar.
I think that it was 49-46.
Yeah, and then down the card you had Magomedov versus Oleszejczuk. Again, a good fight for Magomedov.
Yeah, a better opponent, you know, not some trash can.
Yeah.
It's interesting how he fought Oleszejczuk, but then immediately dropped in competition down to Petrosian, because I think Oleszejczuk's better than Armin Petrosian.
Yeah, I'd say they're close.
But, you know, you go out and you beat Oleszejczuk and then you drop down to Petrosian.
I don't know if it's a drop down.
But it's not like it's like...
Well, when you fight like every 2 months.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to take some guys. And then you have Vera versus Figueiredo. Figueiredo getting the first knockdown on Chito Vera ever in his career. Good fight.
It was a good fight.
Chiesa versus Ferguson. First round submission for Chiesa. Rip
Painful.
My boy.
Mackenzie Dern versus Lupe Godinez.
Not the best.
And then Alvarez versus Brenner was a good fight.
It was a good
I remember
fight.
it being good. It was two Brazilian boys against each other, so you know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Brenner with us.
And you had Menafield versus, I don't even want to pronounce his name, light heavyweight. That was a good fight. You had Gaziev picking up a win, recovering from his loss earlier this year. Was there anything else exciting on this card?
The rapper Dumas was on this card.
Cedric Dumas, yeah, not bad.
This was definitely better. I think we put it in mid.
Yeah. It didn't have as much star power as 310, but it did have better fights, I think. Right? Like, Figueiredo versus Vera was a better fight.
If you go back and watch one of these over again, what are you watching?
If I go back and rewatch, I'm probably watching this one.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's fair.
I don't think I'd watch 310 again.
Oh, geez, the quality's cooked on this one.
All right, let's move on to...
Let's check how good our knowledge is.
Moicano versus Saint Denis. I love this fight.
Oh, it was so good. Even though it was all one-sided, it was so great to watch BST just get destroyed by Moicano.
True fraud check. And then we had Imavov versus Allen. Thank goodness Imavov got that win over Brendan Allen.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't the best fight. Pretty much every fight on this card was good. You had William Gomez getting a win over Joe Anderson Brito. I was very surprised that he got that win. Then you have a banger, Kevin Giuseppe versus Brian Battle.
Oh, who was in Paris? Brian Battle was in Paris.
And then you have Morgan Charrier versus Gabriela Miranda. Charrier looked great, got that highlight finish in round 2. Then, of course, you had one of the highlight KOs of the year, in my opinion, for SCM versus Matt Vervola.
Like, the amount of performance bonuses that Dana gave out that night.
Yeah, it was hype.
Maybe the US dollar goes a little bit further in France. Yeah, 50K France dollars.
Facts.
What was it? Yen?
Bro said yen for French.
Pesos? Pounds?
Is it not just
Rupees?
euros?
Oh, it's probably euros. Yeah. Guys, I'm joking.
The French dollar. Then you had Ion Kachaluba picking up a win over Ivan Erslan. I wasn't too surprised about that. It was a good fight. And then you have Umar Sy getting a win over Dawoon Zhang. This was another banger. It was a good fight. Even though the odds, like, it was heavily in favor of Umar Sy. Ludovic Klein, good win. Eileen Perez, the OnlyFans model. Don't subscribe. Trust me, it's not worth it.
This was just like all right in the prime of these gloves being so bad.
Yeah.
Like, you're not getting any finishes in here.
Yeah. Oh, I was sad that Russian Eileen Perez beat the Russian fighter. I wanted her to go on a bit of a run, but didn't happen.
I think the only other one was Bolaji Oki getting that lost to Chris Duncan by the submission.
Chris Duncan looks so good.
He got that performance bonus.
Balaji Oki was out cold.
Mm-hmm.
He was dead. I remember watching that. I was on a walk and I was watching it on my phone. I was like, dang, this is kind of hype. That's when I knew it was going to be a good day. What are we saying?
I
I'd
think
say
solid.
Like really solid.
Yeah, maybe ahead of Noche. Noche.
The thing is, Noche got carried by like the flyweights on that card.
Yeah, we can put it there.
But the main event was better. Maybe. Yeah, I like that.
All right, our final card of this marathon of a video, UFC Macau, headlined by Peter Yan versus Davison Figueiredo, co-main event, Yang Jianan versus Tabitha Ritchie. Main event was good. Peter Yan was just
so high level.
Was unreal in that
super
fight.
Back and forth. Ground game, tons of striking. Figgy couldn't hold him down, which was a little bit surprising, but Yan looked so good. Vintage striking, just pressure. And yeah, he picked up the win very dominantly.
Yeah, and it's not even like Figgy looked terrible. Like Figgy looked how Figgy looked, but Yan just looked that much better.
Yeah, Yan Jianan versus Tabitha Ritchie, there was levels.
Yeah.
Yan looked like a champion in there versus Tabitha Ritchie. I think, did she only land 4 strikes in like one of the rounds?
Something like that. It wasn't a bad for a woman's fight.
Yeah.
You know? But it was just Yan was just a level ahead of Tabitha Ritchie.
And then you had Muslim Salikov getting that highlight spinning wheel kick KO over Song. One of my favorite KOs of the year. Upset of the year coming up next.
Wang Kong gets submitted in the second round by Fernandez.
Rip Bozo. Uzdemir losing to Olberg. Olberg picking up that win. I was worried at some points in this fight, but he moved up.
Yeah, it was a good fight, but they just kind of gassed out in the third. It was kind of what we were expecting when you have low-level light heavyweights.
Well, not low-level.
Not low-level, but they're not elite light heavyweights that they're just going to gas out.
Yeah, you got to think, like, how good is Pereira's cardio?
Yeah.
Dude does not get tired. It's crazy.
No.
And then you had Zhang versus Diaz. Zhang is just different.
And he is huge.
He might be one of my favorite light heavyweights, honestly. He's so good.
He's so big for that division.
What else do we have on this card? We had
the issue is
Shi versus Fang. Banger.
That was when we had that head kick KO.
Yeah, one of the best.
Like just look at her in this picture. She looks so nice.
So happy.
How could that head kick you?
And then you had Loner Kavanaugh making his debut from the Contender Series. That was a great fight. And then you had Zhao versus Lee, another banger fight. Yeah, honestly,
it was just so good,
all
so
the way
consistent,
through. So consistent. I would put this a great card.
Is it better than Duplessis versus Adesanya?
I think Duplessis versus Adesanya gets moved up. Honestly,
yeah, I like that.
I think that's a very valid list. We went through all the fights on these cards. Sorry if we didn't remember the women's fights, but that's just the way she goes.
A year ago, like, sorry that we're casuals, guys, but you guys still come back every day and watch us. So, what does it say about you guys?
Don't roast our fans like that.
Oh, but thank you so much for all the love. These last couple videos have done awesome. Just, you guys got to be ready for Dodson's Corner Christmas. Like, just some absolute bangers coming out.
Nice. What are we posting on Christmas? And also, shout out to everyone who voted on
like 68 responses already.
Yeah, it's only been like 2 days. So
crazy.
Hopefully we can get to like 100, 150 even.
Yeah, we were hoping for 50, but like we're well over that now.
Yeah, so if you guys want to make sure your voice is heard and vote for your favorite fighter, your favorite KO, your favorite pay-per-view, because I mean, we voted for our favorite pay-per-view, but maybe yours is completely different. Make sure you go vote and make sure you vote on all 10 of the questions, because you have to vote on all 10 of the questions for the form to be submitted. And then on December 31st, we're going to be taking a look at the results. Me and Dylan aren't looking at your guys' results yet. We're going to have our producer, Matt, shout out producer Matt, go through them, make cue cards for us, and then we're going to read them like a real award show.
I had scheduled that Dodson's Corner Awards were coming on Christmas Day, but we changed that to the 31st. So maybe we'll do like 2025 predictions.
Oh, yeah.
That we can just switch those
Or
days.
hot takes.
Hot takes.
Christmas hot takes.
Christmas hot takes.
Oh, I'm hyped.
It's going to be a great month, guys. Thank you so much for all the love. Make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss any episodes, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.